Like many issues on Capitol Hill, bipartisan solutions on immigration have stalled for years. Just ask the last three presidents.
We've still got to make sure that we get comprehensive immigration reform passed in this country.
And you know, when you talk about comprehensive immigration reform, which is where I would like to get to eventually.
If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border.
But a group of lawmakers in Congress may have figured out how to get some things done. They were called the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress. It was 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans figuring out how to make the legislative branch more effective. Their work caught the attention of my next guest, who wrote in a Washington Post op-ed, these radically simple changes helped lawmakers actually get things done. Washington Post columnist Amanda Ripley joins us now. She's also the author of High Conflict: Why We Get Trapped and How We Get Out of It. So, Amanda, what first sparked your curiosity about this committee?
Well, in a time of intense polarization and dysfunction, stories of function are actually really refreshing and mysterious, right? So I wanted to know what is going on in this committee, which on the face of it seems destined to fail, because this was the only committee in the last Congress that was required to get a supermajority consensus vote of its members to get anything done. And it was split right down the middle, half Republicans, half Democrats. And its mission was to fix Congress, to bring it into the 21st century. So a huge and seemingly impossible mission. It only originally had 1 year to get it done. So, you know, you're thinking, or I'm thinking, this is not going to work, right, on the face of it. But it turns out this committee somehow passed 202 bipartisan recommendations, 2/3 of which have been implemented or are well on their way to being implemented. And they were so productive that their colleagues actually voted to extend, actually quadruple the lifetime of the committee. So I just wanted to literally try to solve this mystery. How do you get things done in a time of such intense division, despite everything?
So you have studied conflict. You've written the book about it. And so what did the committee members do that both worked for them, but that you then also connect to what you know about the extensive work about what works to help people get through intractable conflicts?
Yeah, you know, there are some basic things we know about what helps create conditions conducive to healthy conflict, because we need conflict. The problem is not conflict. The problem is toxic, destructive, high conflict. So then the question is, what are those conditions and how did the committee create them in a sea of dysfunction and bitterness? So a few things we know for sure about humans in conflict, and one is that they need to have shared goals that they work on side by side as equals. And when they disagree, which they will, which is important, they have to talk to each other, right? Rather than ignoring each other or going to war. And it always helps to break bread together. So these are basic things that I'm almost embarrassed to say because they're so obvious, right? But it turns out most of these things are not happening and are actually really hard to do in Congress the way it's currently designed. Just to take a very tiny example, there's virtually no drop-in workspace in Congress where members from different parties can have a casual conversation without a camera present, despite many, many requests for such a place, because it is not in the interest of leadership to allow that kind of interaction. There's a kind of isolation that's part of polarization all over the world. And that kind of isolation keeps the conflict going, right? So in this case, this little committee managed largely because of its leaders, but not entirely. So the Democratic chairman was Representative Derek Kilmer of Washington State, and the vice chair Republican was William Timmons from South Carolina. They decided to do things differently. So they sat Democrat, Republican, as opposed to all Democrats on one side and Republicans on the other. And they sat in a round table format as opposed to up on high in hearings above the witnesses, right? And they also had dinner together on a regular basis, which, believe it or not, was extremely hard to do because it's very hard to find space for that. And it's all locked up through the leadership. So they kind of worked around and found ways to be human with one another, to disagree, but not do it in such a way that dehumanizes and destroys any hope of getting things done.
And you also wrote about the fact that they had a session where they talked about the January 6th riots, which was a very difficult position for them. Is the final question, Amanda, can this be grafted onto other committees or even onto the whole of Congress?
Yeah, I asked that of everyone I interviewed, and they all said absolutely. It requires leadership, but it all can be done. And many of their recommendations actually were nudging Congress, the rest of Congress, in this direction. So some of the ones that did get implemented include more bipartisan dinners for members through the Library of Congress, and also more bipartisan programming for new members of Congress, which is now happening. But it really is possible. It just shouldn't be this hard, right, to do this kind of thing. The bottom line is people need to talk to each other, and you need to create the conditions for that to be productive, even after a trauma like January 6th, which is what this committee did.
Amanda Ripley, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.